Well guys, this is my beloved stationary air compressor that I bought from Sears back in 1984. This actually was made by DeVilbiss though, the DeVilbiss Company, and I just put this out of commission 3 years ago in the summer of 2019, and I haven't used it since. I was going to make it a portable unit, just never got around to it, so I'm going to put it up for sale, and I thought I would showcase this before I do that because it's been a very good compressor. No issues. It runs strong to this day. This is the model number 919.170250. The manufacturer number was a 383-01185. Alright, it's somewhat hard to see that tag in the back, so I went and put some chalk on it, wiped it off so we could see the imprint better. But it says DeVilbiss. It's got like a maximum temperature of 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and something about the air pressures. We have the manufacturer number, which I read earlier, and then it shows the manufacturer date, 1983. And as I said, I bought this in 84. I believe it was in the beginnings of 1984. As you can see here, guys, I still have the original manual. Here are some of the specs. Now, they had a 1, 3, and a 5 horse model. Mine is the 5 horse. The displacement, cubic feet per minute, is 13.8. The bore is 2 7/8 inch. The stroke is 2 inch. It's a single phase from voltage 220 to 240. Minimum branch circuit required 15 amp. Amperage at maximum pressure 13.8. And it is a 30-gallon tank. The approximate cut-in pressure 100 psi's. Approximate cutout is 125. And then your capacities, the cubic feet per minute is 7.9 at 125, 9.3 at 90, and 11.3 at 40. And then page 6 and page 7, it shows the what the various different parts are of the compressor. Over here it shows the pressure switch and gives you information on all that. Now I've attached a few things on this side, and I'll show that later. But here we have a parts list. And then here we have a breakdown of all the parts. More of a parts list over here. And this happens to be, just several years ago, I bought a brand new belt for it. The old one was looking a little bit rugged, cracked, so I bought a new one, and that's why that's there. And then here we have the belt information I wrote down when I bought that belt. It is a 46-inch belt. Now this is the tag that was on the motor. I ended up taking that off and putting it in the instruction manual here, as you see here, and for future reference. The original motor, never had a bit of problems with it. Now guys, this is actually part of the catalog when I bought this compressor from Sears. Now you can see the one I have is down here, the 5 horse. It's at the very bottom. Again, it's showing the catalog number as a 303-01185. T17025N. And then we go across here, we see that it was 158 pounds. That's the shipping weight. And we're going to see that the price was $739.99. I bought this back then for $619.99. That was a hell of a lot of money back then. But again, this is a DeVilbiss. I'm telling you, the thing is made exceptionally fine. Hell of a good unit. Again, $619.99 is what I paid for this. Here's the tag that was on the back of the air compressor. I ended up peeling that off, again saving that in the manual. And you can pause the video and check out what it says here on the tag. This was an interesting article that I had found. It was from Thursday, March 20th, 1986, page 43. And it is about the 1,000,000th Craftsman compressor to roll off production line at the DeVilbiss Toledo plant. Well, guys, how times have changed. I'm not sure who's making them anymore for Craftsman. I do know back in the day, I bought a lot of tools from Sears, and a lot of their stuff was made by reputable, well, when I say reputable, maybe I shouldn't use that word, but by very good manufacturers back then. And they would just put their name on it. And again, this DeVilbiss is just an excellent unit, and can't say enough about it. Even though it's old like that, it's still strong. Change your oil every year, you know. And I always had a fan mounted above the air compressor, and so if it ran for more than normal, by that I mean if I wasn't just using it to air up a tire, but if it was running, you know, to run an air tool or doing something longer, I had that fan on because it was in the back corner of my garage, and I wanted to make sure there was good airflow going across the unit to help keep it cool, you know. So anyways, can't speak highly enough of this this compressor. And for anyone interested, you can pause the video and read this article. So I found this little tidbit of information. DeVilbiss Air Power Company was founded in 1888 with headquarters in Tennessee. They manufactured air compressors, air tools, pressure washers, generators, and more. Today the brand is included under the MAT Industries, LLC. In 1999, DeVilbiss was sold to Pentar, who then sold their company to Black & Decker in 2004. And something else I found, Stanley Works merged with Black & Decker in 2010, and then Black & Decker sold the DeVilbiss Air Power line to Matt Holdings in 2011. Amazing how you don't know today who makes tools that used to make their tools. They sell out to so many different companies. You really don't know anymore. And for any further research, if you're interested, Wikipedia does have something under Matt Holdings that gives some more information. So let's check this out. One of the things you see here is the original drain valve that came on it. I replaced with a different drain valve that had a larger handle on it, and it's hard to get back in there. And again, this was a permanently mounted. So what I did is attached this flat bar stock and then made this brazed on this handle here, so that when I wanted to drain it or close it to operate it, all it was a matter of turning this like this, and you close the petcock there, or to open it like this, and it worked out very well. And the handle being like this, parallel with the tank, meant it was closed. Like this meant it was in with the flow of the petcock. Otherwise, I don't know how you were able to get in there, because it just It was very hard to get your hands in there with the original setup. And I had to change the petcock because it needed a different type of handle that was on that. Here is a close-up of what I'm talking about. You can see how that is and how I attached that extension to the drain valve. And that's original. That's when I did this shortly after I bought it, that's been on there all these years. Another thing I did, and all manufacturers, even today, are guilty of this. They have the drain plug right up here to where it'll drain down onto your tank and make a hell of a mess. So what I did is I put an extension nipple on it with a 90, and then I put one of these Fumoto drain valves on it, which I did a video on it for my car, and they work excellent. Now when it comes time to drain the oil, all I do is put a bucket underneath this, open up the valve after the oil's been warmed, obviously, and drain it out. And then when I'm done, close the valve off and you're good to go. Here you see the pump. Haven't done a thing to that. The original pump runs fine to this day. The safety valve, original safety valve here. The original Sears gauge, and then right behind it is the shut-off switch. This is the original switch. One thing I did though, instead of using this switch all the time, being that was back in the corner and I had my toolboxes up perpendicular to this, what I did is I had a number 10 gauge extension cord that I made plugged into it, so that when I wanted to turn this on and off, I just plugged it into the outlet. So thereby, this switch is basically, I mean, it's been maybe used, I don't know, less than 100 times. I mean, I'm using it more right here now than I have probably, well, since I first got it, because I just didn't want to turn this on and off. And again, being back in the corner, harder to access this. It was just easier to have that extension plug to literally turn it on and off. And then I always left this in the on position, obviously. Here we see that 5-horse motor, guys. It is original. Never touched it, never did a thing to it, never ever had to reset it, never ever. One of the things I did do that I liked better is I didn't like what they had to tighten it down. For me, it was harder to do, so I took one of these coupling nuts and used it to tighten down the belt, because this motor is on a pivot. And so that's something that I changed right there, and that worked a lot better. Of course, once you set it, it never really needs to be adjusted unless the belt stretches a little bit. But I found this to be a whole lot better than the original setup they had. Looking at the back side, here you see the guard. Now, I've had that thing off for years, and actually I've lost all the mounting hardware, or as far as the bolts. I left it off because it was one of those things that, well, it was back in the corner, I never needed it. And I could keep an eye on things with better without that on. So let's fire this thing up, guys. So what I'm going to do, since it's outside, is I'm going to use these two 25-foot extension cords that I made up. They're heavy 10 gauge, very heavy. And I made these up back in the day when I bought my, actually it was around the same time. I think I bought it maybe before the air compressor, but I bought an industrial table saw, a Rockwell Unisaw back in 1984. And what I did is, when I was using the table saw in the garage, I would use one of these 25-foot extensions. But there's a lot of times I wanted to take it outside. So to do that, I needed the extra 25 feet. Well, rather than have 50 feet, it's so much better that to use the least amount of extensions that you need. So that's why I've got these two. First thing I've got to do before you fire it up is put this plug in it. Well, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of my 38-year-old Craftsman built by DeVilbiss air compressor.